And I'm going to be shorter, okay? I promise. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to be short. And I had, anyway, I'm not going to, you know, one of the things that well, I'm
well, and Alyssa.
Anyway, as they say in Southern, we've done pretty good.
So Joe Biden made an appearance on The View, and to say that it was strange would be an understatement. Coincidentally, they ask him a few pretty serious questions, and he just goes on these bizarre, incoherent ramblings, exposing truly how brain dead he is and leaving the hosts confused. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel. I know you guys are gonna love this one, but let's start with Joe Biden throwing some red meat at The View's Trump-deranged, radical left crowd and saying the reason for Kamala Harris's loss was racism and sexism.
Why do you think the vice president lost, and were you surprised?
I wasn't surprised, not because I didn't think the vice president was the most qualified person to be president. She is. She's qualified to be president of the United States of America. Right. But I was surprised. I wasn't surprised because they went the route of the sexist route, the whole route. I mean, this is a woman, she's this, she's that. I mean, it really, I've never seen quite as successful and a consistent campaign undercutting the notion that a woman couldn't lead the country and a woman of mixed race.
Yeah.
And they played that to a fairly well. In addition to that, one of the things happened, if you notice, and I'm going to be shorter, okay? I promise. Okay. She said, "Don't be Joe Biden, be short."
I said that to him.
So clearly Democrats haven't learned that their strategy of insulting half of the American population is neither a winning one or a unifying one. It also shows they're still stuck in their victimhood mindset, where any one of their failures or shortcomings has to be attributed to some sort of systemic injustice, some sort of widespread discrimination. It couldn't be because Democrats are talentless and unqualified and have a political ideology that is wildly unpopular with the American people. It's because half the population are these horrible bigots who are stopping these otherwise perfect Democrat candidates from being successful. It's this kind of mindset that will inhibit the Democrats from ever putting forth a candidate who's worthy of gaining the goodwill of the American people, because they would prefer an environment where their ideas can't be challenged, where they can't be scrutinized under any circumstances, where they don't have to adapt to the wants or the desires of the voters. They can just continue to be as unlikable as they want. And when the American people continue to reject them, they'll just blame it on sexism and racism and continue to label the people who disagree with them as horrible bigots rather than finding unity. Now, this is where Alyssa asks him a pretty shocking question, asking if he takes responsibility for Donald Trump's victory because of how bad his administration was.
When you announced that you wouldn't be seeking re-election, only 28% of the country thought that the country was on the right track. Now, you are understandably very proud of many achievements in your administration, but do you take any responsibility for not hearing the concerns of voters on the border security or cost of living sooner? And do you take any responsibility for Trump's re-election?
Yes, I do, because look, I was in charge and he won, so you know I take responsibility. Number one, but number two, you know, you remember we put together a commission leading with one of the most conservative members of the United States Senate from Oklahoma running it. We came up with a significant means by which we could deal with the border. What did Trump do? He got on the telephone and he called Republicans, do not support it. It's legal, it'll work, it'll make Biden look good, don't do it. And they backed off. They backed off.
Now, she asks him about his mental health decline later in this interview, and that creates a really tense moment, so make sure you guys keep watching for that. But it's hilarious how Joe Biden keeps regurgitating the same Democrat talking point that they had on the campaign, that the border needed to be solved by some piece of legislation, and it was Donald Trump who stopped it from happening. First off, the bill was horrendous. It gave blanket amnesty to all of the illegal immigrants that Joe Biden smuggled in during his term. and then continued to allow 5,000 people in per day illegally before the border would finally close down. The even more out of touch part is it's May. It's not January. We all saw Donald Trump come in on day one and effectively close the border. Illegal crossings have plummeted. We saw that it didn't take some new piece of legislation. All it took was a new president who wasn't openly encouraging an illegal immigration crisis. So not only was that talking point completely ridiculous and disingenuous back in the campaign, but it's literally been proven to be a false statement because Donald Trump solved the issue with some basic executive action. And that's why he's right that he should take responsibility for Donald Trump winning. Donald Trump left after January 6th in disgrace. And the only reason he had a resurgence in popularity was because of how bad the Biden administration was. Biden fundamentally ruined the lives of the majority of Americans, and instead of listening to their concerns, the entire administration and the Democrat media engaged in a gaslighting campaign, calling us crazy and telling us that our concerns were either non-existent or not worthy of being concerns in the first place. Now, Sonny asks Joe Biden about her bombshell moment with Kamala Harris, where she asked her what she would do differently than Joe Biden, and Kamala gave the famous answer that there's nothing she would do differently. And watch how the Democrat propaganda machine fires into full overdrive mode when they're talking about this topic. It's hilarious.
When the vice president was here, I asked her if she would have done something differently than your administration over the past 4 years. And because of all the successes that your administration had, I think her response was, there is not a thing that comes to mind. Now, that answer was weaponized against her. And there has been some reporting that you encouraged her for there to be no daylight between the two of you. First, is that true? And do you think, in retrospect, that she should have tried to differentiate all the wins that your administration had?
Well, look, first of all, I did not advise her to say that, number one. Like I said, I was vice president. I understand the role, number one. Number two, I think she was talking about wouldn't have changed the successes we've had, not opposed to that we wouldn't change anything at all. She has to be her own person.
I'm sorry, what wins are they referring to? If Joe Biden was so successful and was just winning on every single front, number one, why did he drop out of the race? And number two, why was there an overwhelming consensus from the American people that they needed to vote for somebody who was the complete opposite of what Joe Biden was? Now, Kamala would conveniently seesaw between, oh, I'm the vice president, I'm so involved with Joe Biden at every step, I'm the last person in the room when decisions are getting made, to, oh, I'm just the vice president, I don't really do anything, the president has final say, he's the decision maker, I can just give my input. When people would question her qualifications, it was, oh, I'm the most active vice president in history. And then after she essentially tied herself to the hip with Joe Biden and we scrutinized that resume, then it was just, oh, I'm just a vice president, I don't really do much. It's also completely intellectually dishonest to try to make the claim that what she meant was she wouldn't change any of the wins. It's safe to say when someone asks you what you would do differently, they're not asking you about the successful things that you've done, they're probably asking about the things that weren't so successful. So either she was completely delusional and thought everything Joe Biden did was wonderful and she wouldn't change it a bit, or she knew everything Joe Biden did was a failure, but she couldn't say that she would do things differently because then it would undermine any of their talking points that what Biden did was such a massive success. Now, this is where things get juicy when Alyssa asks Joe Biden about the massive number of books coming out that are talking about his mental health decline.
Since you left office, there have been a number of books that have come out, deeply sourced from Democratic sources, that claim in your final year there was a dramatic decline in your cognitive abilities. In the final year of your presidency, what is your response to these allegations, or are these sources wrong?
They are wrong. There's nothing to sustain that. Number one.
Number one, I think you mean substantiate. But go ahead, keep gaslighting the American public that you were fine, you were sharp, you were with it, you were on top of your game. Go ahead and act like none of us saw your entire 4 years. Go ahead and act like none of us saw your debate with Donald Trump. You're right, you're the most clever man on the planet, but let's continue with this clip.
Number two, think of what we were left with. We were left with a circumstance where we had an insurrection when I started. Not since the Civil War. We had a circumstance where we were in a position that the pandemic, because of the incompetence of the last outfit, end up over 1 million people dying, 1 million people dying. And we're also in a situation where we found ourselves unable to deal with a lot of just basic issues, and which I won't go into in the interest of time. And so we went to work, and we got it done. And one of the things I'm
Well, and
talking too long.
Alyssa,
So I love how in his answer of him trying to defend his mental competence, he literally has a brain fart and goes blank and loses his train of thought. You literally can't make up this level of irony. Even the Democrat shills who still won't admit that Joe Biden was essentially brain dead haven't explained to us, if he was so sharp, why did he drop out of the race? If his mental acuity wasn't such a big deal, then why did all the Democrat fundraising dollars literally dry up after his debate with Donald Trump? Now, this is where his wife hilariously jumps in his defense, who's as much of a doctor, by the way, as I am an NBA basketball player because I hit 2 3-pointers in a row one time, and starts describing a world that I certainly didn't live in for the last 4 years, and I'm sure you didn't either, where Joe Biden is just the most active president we've ever seen in our lifetimes. Take a look.
one of the things I think is that the people who wrote those books were not in the White House with us. And they didn't see how hard Joe worked every single day. I mean, he'd get up, he'd put in a full day, and then at night I'd be in bed, reading my book, and he was still on the phone reading his briefings, working with staff. I mean, it was nonstop.
And after that, he did a handstand, and then he went and worked out for 2 hours in the gym. And then after that, he pondered the meaning of life and answered the world's most complex questions. And then he climbed a tree and saved a kitten. I mean, give me a break. It is common knowledge that Joe Biden was in bed by 6 p.m. I'm not sure what Jill Biden is attempting to do by just blatantly lying to all of our faces. It's bad enough that Joe Biden was allowed to be a brain-dead president and controlled by Obama staffers. But I don't think she understands that she's making a case for an even worse scenario where he was mentally there and in charge of all the decision-making and still allowed the country to go downhill so badly. But hey, who knows? Maybe we're the delusional ones. Maybe Joe Biden was the most active person in the world. Maybe he was the greatest president in United States history. And the reason why we can't see that is because we're not burdened with $100,000 of student loan debt and a PhD in gender studies. Maybe if we were more educated like those people, maybe then we could see the world through their Trump deranged lens, where Joe Biden was actually the greatest guy who's ever occupied the White House. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Turn on the notification bells so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys in the next one.